Today we're traveling all the way to the uncharted regions of North Korea, technically. What we are looking at today is something that I've been sitting on for a while, and in the move that I brought with me here to Texas, I'm like, you know what, I haven't done a video on this. I kind of want to, because this is without a doubt one of my absolute all-time favorite kaiju figures. We are looking at Mondo's giant PULGASARI, the Iron Bull 12-inch soft vinyl figure. So you might be asking, what the heck is PULGASARI if you're kind of new to this whole fandom? Well, PULGASARI was a film produced by none other than Kim Jong-il, the former, now deceased dictator of North Korea. The man was an enigma in his own right, politics aside. So back in the mid-'80s, he had kidnapped a film director and his estranged wife from South Korea and forced him to make movies. One of those movies happened to be a Godzilla ripoff called PULGASARI, which is based on an old Korean legend. So the movie was kind of in a weird obscurity for a while until the late 90s when I believe ADV released it out here, and it had a release in Japan. So it does tie in with the Godzilla lore, because a lot of the Toho folks that worked on the Godzilla the Return of Godzilla flew over under the auspicities that they were going to do a movie in China, and ended up being taken to North Korea to make a monster movie. In fact, Kenpachi Satsuma, who was Godzilla for the Heisei series, I believe I'm saying that name right, was actually in the costume of PULGASARI. So we actually did a whole episode with the author of a Kim Jong-il production. If you want to go deeper into this fascinating story, I recommend looking that one up. I'll put it in the show notes. Great book, great story. It's fascinating as heck, especially if you're kind of a film buff or a historian of any sorts. But we're talking about toys. So for the longest time, PULGASARI stuff was very rare, mostly because of the weird rights issues that confound the film in question, considering it is a North Korean production that's owned by the state. So there has been maybe a handful of PULGASARI items that were out there that are official, a couple of them being some very large vinyl figures that go for quite a bit of money. It wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago that Mondo decided, hey, we're going to make one. Now, how did they get away with that? Well, it's a little bit of playing with the wording, if you will. So Mondo put out a whole line of these bad boys. There was a line of 6-inch figures. I no longer have mine. I had to downsize, but I kept their 12-inch one because it is without a doubt one of their finest vinyl figures they've ever made. I love this thing to death. So as you can see, it came in this delightful box right here, down the back. So it's it's a very basic brown box, but the artwork on it's well done, including right here the figure, and on the bottom there you go. But let's get inside, because the box does not do this guy justice. Voila. Look at this magnificent work of art. This is what you want out of a vinyl figure. I believe this was sculpted by the great and powerful Dope Pope, who, if you haven't seen, he's responsible for a lot of cool figures now. He's done a lot of work with Mondo. He's working with, I think it's Titanic Creations, on another PULGASARI figure, which has a different wording, and their Yongari figure. So shout out to Dope Pope. Cool dude. Go give him a follow. So right here, this is a 12-inch vinyl figure. He caught, at the time I picked him up when he was released, he ran I think about $175. So much like many X Plus style Sofubis, he doesn't move. He's a cool, what I would call a display piece. But my goodness, the sculpting on this thing is immaculate. So let's get this up here. Get the detailing of the iron-eating monster, which is what Pulgasari is. This is a delightfully sculpted figure. The paint job on it is one of the best, one of the absolute finest. This was one of the first, I think this predates Mondo's Godzilla work too. So this was kind of their dry run of what they were offering with a lot of their Godzilla works. And credit where credit's due, man, because this is a piece of art. So they got the detailing down of the suit. And actually, with Dope Pope's, and the thing I love about Dope Pope and his style is that he'll take an established looking figure, suit, whatever you want to call it, and just add a little bit of that magical pizzazz, just a slight updating to give it that extra oomph, if you will. And that's main reason why I love this thing. It looks like one of his pieces of art brought to life. So, as I said, he stands 12 inches tall. He is painted. He is a soft vinyl figure. Well, he's not too soft. He's pretty hard. But an absolute work of art. And thing I love in my collecting is deep cut stuff. This is deep cuts. Like I said, they had two versions. There was a 6-inch version that they did in a multitude of colors, and then there was this guy, the 12-inch. So the 6-inch is a slightly different sculpt. This one, though, I feel is the definitive sculpt. This is the definitive Pulgasari. He looks like how he looked in the film. My only qualm was in the movie he starts off real small, then gets bigger. He has a slightly different look, but I'm not complaining, considering that this is a weird, obscure kaiju, and that Mondo kind of danced around international copyright laws, considering that North Korea is a very, how do I put this politely, interesting place, especially ran by a communist regime. So something capitalistic like this is kind of out of the question a lot of the time. So, but man, do I love this thing. Again, if you have not seen Pulgasari, it is online. It is free to watch. You can watch it on YouTube. I would highly recommend give it a watch. It's kind of a fun movie. I know in the a lot of people don't give it a high regard, but considering the story behind it, and the story behind it is far more interesting than the movie. It was made by a director who was making movies against his will, if you will. And even though it has a lot of communist themes, it does come across very anti-communist. So considering that this is a piece of merchandise which goes against the ideologies of the country that made this film, it is kind of it's a quagmire, if you will. But it is an absolutely stunning piece that I would recommend anybody have in their collection. You can still get this guy on mondoshop.com. They have a few left. Occasionally they'll put them up for sale. But to me, this is the de facto piece, and he is a gorgeous piece. I consider this one of the cornerstones of my collection. I love it to death. And it really gave me a lot of hope when Mondo said they're going to start producing vinyl figures. I do like Mondo's output. The problem is that they are limited quantity, and they're quite expensive. And like I said, when I bought this guy, he was $175. So these are for more of the high-end collectors. So if you're just starting out, or you're on a budget, this might not be the guy for you right now. But since he is still available online, and knowing the Mondo only produces X amount, grab him while you can. It is a very weird side note of kaiju lore, but man, you cannot deny this is a beautiful looking figure. And there you have it. That is my review of Mondo's 12-inch Pulgasari, the Iron Bull. Remember, if you like what you see here, we do have a show. It's called the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast. You can find us at thekaijukingdompodcast.com. And if you don't like to download, well, you can always stream us on all of your favorite podcast streamers, including Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you might find better podcasts. We're also on social media. We're on X, we're on Instagram, and we are on Facebook.com. Give us a follow if you want to keep up with all the late-breaking news in the world of kaiju. If you want to say hi, or if you want to see what our misadventures have been. I mean, we just went to Japan. I'm still posting stuff from that trip. That was already 2 months ago, but I took so many pictures that, man, it's a lot. So follow us there. And with that will wrap up this edition of the Koffers. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.